Welcome into an all-new episode of Panthers on Tap. I'm Curtis Rauen, joined by Ricky Raines, coming to you guys on a Wednesday evening. It feels like forever ago. We were wrapping up the season. Ricky, good to see your face as always.
Yeah, man, we've been gone for a while, right? You and I, when we got on here before the show even got underway, we kind of looked at each other and were like, hey, it's nice to see you, man. Like, it's been a few weeks. We'd seen each other 2 or 3 times a week, I felt like, at the end there. Yeah, good to be back. And Curtis, these episodes are fun because they don't have to be like super intense going through like a game and really critiquing the team. But we get to look at it from an offseason standpoint and start to look at the rookies and the draft class. And I already see, I got to mention Panther Bo right there in the comments. First one in. Talking about, I tell you what. I wish, man. I wish we were on one of those days. We could throw on the cowboy hat in the W video. Panther Bo, appreciate you being here, man. Good to see you.
Appreciate you, Bo, for tapping in. Bryson's got the night off, so we'll be just running the ship here. But before we get into it, Ricky, I know you had, I think you teased a couple beers. So what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, I don't got anything. I only have one beer, actually. It is called Haze for Horses IPA. Haze, but it's a little play on the fact that hay is for horses. So this is a hazy IPA from Barn Brew Company in Groton, Connecticut. Let's see, it says this hazy IPA is dry hopped with Citra, Amarillo, and Waimea hops, packing enormous flavors of hard lemon candy and sweet citrus. It's good. And I'm drinking it out of my trusty Bugs pint glass on a 7-game win streak. No Bugs, how about them?
Yeah, they are hot right now, and they just made a trade.
They are. And I got my Queen City Grits hat on. Shout out JJ Jansen, part owner of the Charlotte Checkers. This was the what could have been for the logo. They had a lady back in the 60s that wanted them to be called the Queen City Grits, which I thought was a pretty cool name. So
yeah, that's a badass name.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't be drinking. I'm battling a cold here, but I got Budweiser. It was in the fridge, so here we go.
Booze kills any kind of virus that you got in there, man. You're doing the right thing.
I wish I would.
You just got to switch up to like some rye or some bourbon, something to really fire it down,
But before we get into that, man, we've had like 2 snowstorms hit. How did you fare over down in Charlotte?
Yeah, we got like 13 inches on our back porch, man. We got a ton of snow. We got a nice big hill, so we were able to sled in the backyard. We walked down the street. We're able to sled out there. I bought like all of the dry goods you could find. I was ready for like a nuclear like warfare, basically, because we had that ice storm originally. Thought we were going to be snowed in for days. Had the PK grill on the front porch to keep it covered underneath the awning. I was ready for battle, man, and I never got to really do it. But I was going to feed the whole damn neighborhood hot dogs if I had to. I was ready to, step up and be the hero for everyone. But hey, what are you going to do? We did all right, though, man. Kid had fun. Big snow day for him. He's been out of school for, it feels like 3 months now. But it's good. He's going back tomorrow, so I'm a happy camper.
Oh, yeah, man. The schools, I feel like, have been out for like 2 weeks now, it seems like.
Yeah.
Whether it's remote learning or whatever they're doing now. Yeah, I had fun. I mean, I had to work being in news. I mean, that's like the Super Bowl when storms hit. So, I mean, it was 12-hour shifts, 12 on, 12 off type stuff. Yeah. But I had fun with the little guy. That was the best part. I mean, I had so much fun going out. He's only like 16 months old, so I probably had more fun than he did. But we were running around on the tube and stuff, and going down there. It was a blast. I love that.
Yeah, dude. So that's his first snow too, right? Or at least at home.
Yeah, the first one there was one last year, but it didn't count.
Right. Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
I do want to shout out Game Changers. You guys probably see the T. I'll try to stand up here.
I think it's sick.
Effect. They put this out. I saw P&P. I don't know if they have some sort of partnership with them, but they were doing a discount through P&P, the Panther Nation podcast.
Shout out Dave and Rashad.
Yeah, Dave and Rashad. Those guys over this shirt. I had to get it. I got the one from Panthers for Panthers fans only, and it was sick. The collar is interesting. I feel like I'm a priest. It's kind of up. It's kind of way up there.
And they got Bryce. They got Bryce real souped up in there. He's got giant muscles on that picture too. I saw it when you posted
too,
it.
if I
I
can
was like,
figure
he's like
that
tatted
out.
up. He's got giant muscles. Like it's like Bryce as a linebacker. But whatever. It's cool, man.
Hey, well,
Shirt's
hey,
sick,
we'll
bro.
take it. We'll take it. All right, let's get to the chat and then we'll dive into this thing. We see Bo's in your Panther Pickle as well.
What up,
What's
Pickle?
up? Appreciate you. Anthony's in here. What's up,
Ant, what up?
guys? OPM, yo, fellas, what's
OPM.
up?
What's up, bro?
I've been teaching remote out here in Raleigh. I missed the classroom, but like you guys, got to be outside with my baby boys.
Hell yeah, man. Enjoy
Yeah,
it,
I
dude.
feel
As soon as
bad
they get down.
nowadays with the remote learning because they don't even get the snow days anymore.
Well, dude,
So
the remote stuff that we got here though, they're given like 1 day of a worksheet and they're out for 3 days. So it's like my kid gets done with it by 10:30 on Monday. And for the next few days, I'm like trying to make up a curriculum here at the house, right? Like kid just wants iPad time. So I'm like, well, let's download a math app. You're gonna do like some sort of math shit if you're gonna have an iPad in your face.
I love it. Dalton's in here as well. Let's go. Where's our? Oh, we're
We
back.
are back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, Dalton. We're back, baby. I like this one, Curtis Dracula. Oh, Bo, I always appreciate it, man.
All right, let's talk about the Senior Bowl. So that has come and gone, obviously, down in Mobile. Ricky, just one or two guys that either caught your eye there or that you're kind of keyed in on that was at the Senior Bowl. I mean, we don't have to go through the whole laundry list, but
Sure.
just one or two guys that you know kind of intrigued you.
You know, the Senior Bowls are interesting. And chat for everyone that's in there, start throwing out some names that you guys kind of like what caught your eye in there. And maybe we can talk a little bit about like the consensus in the chat too and see. I got a feeling I know who one of them is going to be. But for me, so first of all, I'll start by saying that the All-Star games for me, Curtis, and you and I were talking about this right before we started rolling too. They don't do much to move my perception on players necessarily. I do a lot more of the watching the game throughout the year, and then I cram the tape before we get ready for the draft guide stuff. But for me, I really do like to see the official measurements on some of these guys, right? Like that's what I wait for with the combine is to get eyes and see like thresholds, historical thresholds for the Panthers, what's going to match, where would they have to step out of their comfort zone. But then you do see the one-on-ones and you feel like a couple of those guys really stand out, right? Now, one-on-ones are difficult because they also don't use the same context of playing football on Sundays, man. Like one-on-one, you don't have help from any other position, right? So it is literally just a practice is all it is. But Caleb Banks, for me, from a physical standpoint, was really the standout from a physical standpoint for me because of how big and strong and fast he is. Those are the like elite level athletes at positions that can absolutely wreck an offense's game plan, whether it's the ground game, pass rush. He has trouble staying healthy. There are questions about his weight management. Is that something that he can sustain and play at a high level in the NFL? But when I watch him move, and I made this comp just about the movement, right? Not about necessarily his size and things like that. His first step and his quickness for a guy as strong as he is reminds me a lot of Jordan Davis. Like, I just think that he's got a lot of movement to him. I think that that's a position that the Panthers don't necessarily need to upgrade, but you would be hard pressed to tell me that it's a bad move if he turns out to be his ceiling. The other guy that stood out to me was Sam Hecht, the center out of Kansas State. I really liked what I saw out of him. Slightly undersized, weighed in at 297, I believe, 6'2 and a half. I do think he had like 32-inch arms, which is solid for a center. A great movement. What you hear about him and his communication and his ability to control, run, call out protections. I think that that's really intriguing because we've heard Dan Morgan talk about getting cheaper on the offensive line. So those two, I think, stood out the most to me personally. I also will just drop in Bud Clark out of TCU, the safety, that you know, he can wear a lot of different hats in the secondary. But I think that his ball hawking, I think his frame, his size, and his aggressiveness is something that would really be interesting to add to this Panthers defense.
Yeah, Caleb Banks was on my list. I know Daniel Jeremiah, he brought up Chris Jones when talking about him. I
Yeah.
know everyone wants to make the comps and everything else, but he's intriguing, and I feel like he's a player like he's going to end up going to like the Eagles, or something. He's just going to tear it up. Like that's just how it is.
I realized too, I just said Jordan Davis earlier. Jordan Davis is more of the
Mm-hmm.
size for Caleb Banks. But I was actually talking about Jalen Carter with the movement, the
Gotcha.
other defensive tackle for the Eagles. I think that his first step and his explosiveness is reminiscent of a Jalen Carter.
So he was one I put down there. I also thought Lee Hunter was interesting, like true nose tackle. He had some issues, I thought, throughout the day, and I thought he did better at coaching. They were kind of talking that on the broadcast, like he was getting coached up as he was doing his like one-on-one things. But I thought he was just a pretty big specimen too. TJ Parker, I know the chat is probably, I think someone had said it. I thought he had a really good week. Long armed a couple dudes. And potentially could be on the Panthers radar. It sounds like he's in that like back end of the first round.
Right.
According to like the scouts out there. Could be someone the Panthers are intrigued with, and could be the first Clemson player the Panthers ever draft. I think that's way too early to say that, but anyway, it's just one to watch, and I know a lot of Clemson fans, I'm sure, are pumped about that. My biggest question mark, and I know I posed this to folks on Twitter, is like, and it's a question I'm sure he's getting, is why was there a major drop off in production last year? I think he had like 11 sacks the year prior, and then he had 5 last year, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Kyle Lewis, another one, the linebacker from Pitt. He got his hands on a couple balls. I know he's a little bit undersized, but he intrigues me.
He's a lot of bit undersized.
Yeah, but he's intrigued. I don't know the right comparison is, but I don't know. I just feel like that he's got something to him that I don't think you can really coach in a guy. But anyway, I thought he was he popped off a little bit for me. And then the guy from Oregon, and I don't want to butcher his name, the linebacker, he just was feisty as hell. Yeah. He had some tenacity to him. And I'm not going down the rest of the list.
But I'm glad you brought up TJ Parker. We saw that in the chat as well. Kyle Lewis was another name that the Panthers.com had on their like 5 players to watch at the Senior Bowl. He is interesting, man, because his coverage ability, it's there. Like the idea of being able to use him as like a jumbo nickel in certain looks, right, in certain personnel packages, it's intriguing. But when a guy is 224 pounds, right, he's 5'11", he has like 32-inch arms. So like the arm length and the height, man, doesn't really bother me, right? It's more about the composition, the density of the frame. And 224, you get reach. And I'm telling you, it's on his tape too. Like he's an aggressive player, but you get reach, you get hands to that second level. He gets moved easily, man, and he cannot deconstruct blocks a lot. It's just something that happens with those smaller, less powerful. The stopping power probably won't be there. How does that speed that he used in college, how does it translate to the pros, right? Those one-on-ones are a whole lot easier to cover a running back when you know that running back is the target and that running back is going to get looked at. It's a whole lot easier when you don't have to worry about what's behind you, right? If you're playing drop zone coverage, you don't have to worry about passing off. You don't have to worry about somebody else. You're just looking at that running back in front of you and reading his body. He's a fluid athlete. He showed that. I think that it's very intriguing. I just worry about that. TJ Parker, man, you brought it up. The production dip, that's going to be the question with TJ Parker. But the pedigree is there. He's a high recruit. He had a really good early showing at Clemson. He's got a good pass rush arsenal. I don't think it's as great as I've seen some people label it to be. I also worry a bit about the dependency on that long arm that you talked about, on that power aspect of his game. I don't see an ultra dynamic, ultra explosive speed element to his game. And for me with the Panthers, I'm looking at it and I'm looking for that dynamic speed and that, that speed rush. Dalton here asks about Cassius Howe. Was he at the Senior Bowl? So Dalton, he was supposed to be there and he pulled out. He did not end up showing up. I was actually really looking forward to seeing Cassius Howe. I would have loved to seen another undersized guy, but who has an elite get off. You talk about his first step and his pass rush arsenal. That dude is freaky bendy. He is freaky quick, but he is very undersized as well. So there's going to be roles And that is what we talked about, Curtis. You know, like, are they going to step out of their comfort zone to draft some of these guys? I want to real quick before we move on, shout out what Panther Bo says here. He said, "What's up, Doug? Had great content." Shout out, what's up, Doug, down at the Shrine Bowl, doing all the interviews, talking to him, and then shout out Amari that did Real Ball Watcher. If you guys don't follow him on whether it's Twitter or his YouTube page, I believe he also has a Patreon. If you or a Substack, I'm sorry, man, for not knowing exactly. I apologize, but both of them did terrific coverage for the team. Talked to a lot of the guys. Don't get too caught up in they met with the Panthers. They talked to the Panthers. Everybody's talking to everybody. It's a big old soiree, you know, at these All-Star games. They all will speak, but it is cool to hear that, like, you know, some of them might have had more in-depth conversations. Maybe some of them were, you know, hey, you're going to be in Charlotte, or are you going to, what are your off-season plans? Like, we'll bring you in type of thing. Like, those are things to make note of. But yeah, man, I thought that it was cool to see some of these guys, but I didn't make a whole lot of changes to my opinions.
Yeah, I was going to shout out Doug too. He's done this back-to-back years now. So go check out his content. He's posted a couple of his interviews. Real Ball Watchers, another great. If you don't follow both of those are great follows on Twitter.
Yep.
Really like what they put out. So make sure you check that out. If we can just flip to the Shrine Bowl.
Sure.
While we touched on it a little bit. And I just wanted to mention the guy from Wisconsin. I mean, he was kind of the highlight reel of that game. Mason Reiger had 3 sacks. Man, he was just his motor in that game. He was fun to watch. He really was.
Mm-hmm.
He was a walk-on at Louisville, played there for a couple years, and then he transferred to Wisconsin this past season, had 5 sacks, showed flashes. I think he's around like a 250 maybe. I don't know his height or his arms, but seems a bit undersized. And I don't know if that would fit, you know, Carolina's mold, but I really he was intriguing as hell to me, and I get it, it's a Shrine Bowl. But he showed up and showed out in that, and just hats off to him for a guy to be a walk-on and you know, put his money where his mouth is and put on a showing in that game. I thought that was impressive.
Shameless, right? Just had to go straight to the Wisconsin. Just had to right away.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Wisconsin has fared pretty well these last.
Yeah, no, it's been bad, man. If you could go down that well, it's been working. Shout out Earl Locklear. What up, Earl? Appreciate being here, man. I did real quick before we went to Shrine, because I started thinking of the players at the Shrine that I was going to talk about, right? And I realized that we didn't talk about like any kind of skill position at Senior Bowl, like none of the offensive players really. And there were some that stood out, especially some of the smaller school names, right? Tyrone Montgomery. There was also a guy I thought Colin Lacey had a nice showing on the final day in some of his drills. He's an undersized guy, but super crafty, super twitchy, a really intriguing yak special teams type of situation there. And then when I started looking at the Shrine, I started thinking to myself about Skylar Bell, the wide receiver out of UConn, and then Eric Rivers, the wide receiver out of Georgia Tech. Also at the Senior Bowl, Lewis Bond, I thought had a really nice showing and probably made himself some money going up the ranks because he got the attention of some people, man. Like, that's what you do there with some of this stuff. It is about getting that. Tanner Koziel, the tight end out of Houston, a big guy. I mean, 6'6.5", 240 pounds, relatively athletic, a terrific red zone target, a primary receiving tight end that we've been talking about needing a tight end that can work those vertical seams. That's that kind of player, I think, that could work for you. I would like to have a little bit more on the way of rack for a tight end. I'd like to have somebody that can really threaten horizontally as much as vertically. But yeah, I think that they had good showings. But then when you talk about the Shrine, that was kind of the underdog thing, right? Like you talked about the guy from Wisconsin, but then we talked with Skylar Bell. I just mentioned him. They had the Navy defensive tackle had a really nice showing. I forget what the other guy's name is, man. I am drawing blanks now, and I feel awful about doing that. Proctor. It was Caleb Proctor out of Southeastern Louisiana. I thought that he had a really nice showing. And, you know, the thing with some of these guys, though, like when you look at like a Caleb Proctor, right? 6'1", 275 pounds with 32 3/4 inch arms. Like, these aren't the biggest guys. So you wonder, they already have Turk Wharton here, right? And they just spent a good amount of money on Turk to come in here. And he's already that undersized. And it didn't really pay the dividends that I think that the team was hoping. He was unable to stay healthy. But do they really feel comfortable doing that? Or are they going to get back to saying, hey, look, maybe we do need to look at our thresholds, and maybe they were there for a reason. I thought Brian Parker from Duke, I'm surprised you didn't mention him. Brian Parker from Duke, the offensive tackle who's moving inside. He took some center reps, took some right guard reps. He should be firmly on the Panthers' radar, in my opinion. You talk about wanting to get healthier or cheaper on the offensive line.
He was on my list, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yes. So I just stole your thunder.
No, you're fine.
Well, I had to do something to keep the integrity here.
No,
so it wasn't just
I thought he did. I thought he was impressive.
He was. And he's one of my favorite center prospects, to be completely candid. Like, I'm not doing a bunch of like giving out my rankings and stuff early so far in this process. I'm still really trying to work through and do, my due diligence before I start doing all that. But he is one of my favorites that I have watched. I am a big fan of his versatility. It's basically a more polished version, in my opinion, of a Brady Christensen, where he is going to be able to serve you the way that you need him to in pinches or in starting roles. I think that he's a really good player to have. I think that he's probably second, third, maybe even fourth round player. So you don't have to invest the really high level stuff into him. Here's
I thought Kalen Rutledge too from the Senior Bowl was
great, man, and he's a physical dude. Like, he is very physical.
They had him at center too a couple times at the Senior Bowl. They were
and somebody mentioned it. I don't know if it was it Lewis Riddick that was talking about him. Somebody had mentioned, they said if he slides over to center, they would expect him, or they would anticipate him being capable of being an all-pro player at that position. And that's a huge statement. Like, I know that there's a lot of like grab attention, like clickbait in real life, if you will. Yeah. But that's a pretty bold statement to put out there on the air. And there's got to be some validity to him truly believing that. Raw Walk says here, what up, fellas? Have you guys looked into Eli Heidenreich out of Navy? Interesting prospect. That was one of the guys that we were just talking about. You know what I mean? Like, they've got multiple, or no, that wasn't him. The Navy defensive tackle was somebody else. Is that the tight end out of Navy? Is that him? I'm
wide receiver.
Wide receiver. Okay. No, I had not looked into him.
Mm-mm.
I have not watched him at all.
I do want to go just a super chat here quick. Bo, well, you did a super chat, so that's fine. $4.99.
Cheers, Bo.
Big Ten, just no turtles. Turtles.
Yeah, this year in basketball, they are the turtles.
Appreciate you, Bo.
Bo was giving me hell yesterday about those turtles because they played the Boilermakers, man, and his boys shut my guys out, man. They made them look real bad. Appreciate that, Bo.
Oh, here's the super chat. Okay. Bringing in Aiden O'Connell, the backup Bryce Young, quick trigger, great vision, # free agency.
He loves him. He absolutely loves Aiden O'Connell. He has been an AOC fan for quite some time. I'm not opposed to AOC. Yeah. I think that we talked about this at the end of the year. Got to do something other than Andy Dalton, right? I was watching the Super Bowl stuff today, and I saw Josh Dobbs talking to somebody, and I was like, man, I almost didn't even remember that Josh Dobbs was the backup there in New England. But, like, that's a really smart kind of player to have because he's a really intelligent player. He can run an offense. He's had success running multiple different offenses. He's not a threat necessarily, but, like, who would be a threat if you've got your franchise quarterback? You shouldn't have to worry about that. You should want a high enough level player on that second string that if something happens to your quarterback, which we have seen Bryce Young miss time, we have seen almost every quarterback in the league. Joe Burrow goes down and they're scrambling. They're bringing in Joe Flacco to try to stay and tread water so that they're staying in that playoff race. Because when you build a roster, you don't want it completely just blown up from having an injury to your quarterback. So I think that AOC is somebody that I'd at least entertain. I'd kick the tires on. He's shown that he can at least spin it. I think he's got some physical limitations. Bo hates when I say that. We talked about that a little bit, and I pointed out that I don't really love his ability to throw it vertical. But you don't keep it within the numbers. He's okay. But I would absolutely take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm good on him. I'm trying to think, and I haven't looked at the free agent lists. It definitely sounds, and I thought I saw this on an interview like after we had talked on our last episode. It sounds like Dan Morgan wants someone who can move. And I don't see Aiden O'Connell as a mover.
Not at all.
So I do think they're going to go more the athletic route, a guy who can kind of escape when he is in trouble.
Some of the quarterbacks in these all-star games, I think, could have been on the radar for them, to be completely honest. Luke Altmaier, the kid out of Illinois, thought he had a nice showing. Mark Gronowski out of Iowa. I thought he looked really good at the Shrine. I think that both of them were some really late day guys that you could take a look at. And if you really want to look at mid round, maybe Garrett Nussmeier, right? He's got a little bit of mobility to him. He's got a little gunslinger to him. He had a lot of hype coming into the year that just didn't pan out. But there are potential guys out there that you could get in those 4, 5, 6 round range that if you are willing to spend that draft capital, you could bring in a young guy to develop.
Let's talk about the Panthers' offseason needs. Some people might think these are obvious. Dan Morgan said it would probably be obvious to the dedicated fan of who they're trying to target, whether that's free agency or the draft. But Ricky, at this point right now, with where the roster's at, what do you think, I guess, for you is the biggest need if you had to pick one position? And then obviously what are the others out there?
Man, it depends very much what they do with free agency. If Cade Mays walks, then center is the biggest need, I think, for me. Center and linebacker. I still think that they need a drastic update at linebacker and edge. I mean, pass rush shit, man. There's a good amount of stuff that they got to do. But those 3 positions right there, and then maybe a nickel or a safety or one of those versatile, defensive backs that can do a little bit of everything. I think that they have got to get better on the edge, the linebacker, and the middle of that anchor of that offensive line. They're going to have a lot of money still with Rob Hunt and Damian Lewis, at least for next year on the books. 2027, I think you get a little bit of a reset there, at least with one of them. You got questions about Icky. Taylor Moton will be done then at that point. I think investing in a center that can really do all of the communication aspects. That's why they liked Austin Corbett. They liked Corbs because they said that.
But do you really think, not to cut into your take here, do you really think they're going to let Cade Mays go? I feel like they like him enough.
I mean, it depends on what you think his market value is going to be. If Cade Mays costs
going to be as much as people think, I don't.
Let's say it's okay. I think that what I've seen.
I mean, I get it. He didn't really play much when he went to the Giants, but look at his market when the Panthers cut him. He was signed to a practice squad of the Giants and just sat there. And that's kind of how the league viewed him at that point. And he had some spot starts in Carolina. It wasn't like he didn't play at all in Carolina. He did have spot starts before he went to the Giants practice squad. So I don't know. I don't know if the league, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he does get a bigger contract than.
Well, you look at a guy like Brad Bozeman, right? That came here and then he ended up at the Chargers and he's starting with them. And there's nobody that would say, hey, we got to make sure we get Brad Bozeman on our team, right? One of the players that made him dispensable for the Panthers outside of himself, no offense to Brad, but outside of himself was Cade Mays. And Cade Mays, when he got his chance this year, he allowed 0 sacks. Or at least he was credited with allowing 0 sacks this year, which is obviously 0 is going to tie for the best mark at that position in the NFL. So when you look at him and you look at his age, you look at his size, his frame, his ability and his experience of playing in a wide zone concept, but you know that he's a physical guy too. So he can clearly handle gap zone or gap scheme on run games. His pass protection is really his calling card. I think that's where I have issue with Cade Mays, is that for as big and strong as he is, he doesn't do as well in the run game as you would hope. I think maybe some of that is the wide zone, not necessarily fitting with what he does well. I would like a guy that can move. I think that's why they also liked Corbett at first. I know that the communication is a big thing, but I think his ability to get to that second level and move out, pull, swing, I think all of those things were appealing. And that's where I would like to see, you got the pipe dream of a guy like Tyler Linderbaum, the Ravens guy. I don't know if he gets out or not. He's going to cost you a grip to make it. But what I would pose the question of is, do you want to pay 10 or 11 million? If you think it's less than that, maybe it is. But the cap went up. They got a new media deal that's coming up. I think you could see Cade Mays garner 10 million a year on a contract. Do you want to pay him 10 million a year, or do you want to try to go and get somebody like Linderbaum for 18 to 20? Now there would be some finagling, some movement.
I don't think they can afford that.
I don't know if they can either, man. But you know what? That's not our job, right? Yeah. Like that is the Brant Tillis, big brain thing. That's what you paid for. That's what you figure out. You get rid of A'Shawn Robinson, that frees up somewhere in the range of like 8 million cap range, I believe, somewhere in that range.
And around, yeah.
Yep, it's somewhere right around 85 or 8.5.
Big relief.
It's a big relief. and there are other moves that you can make. So I think it's just about priorities and what do you want to do? How can you acquire an edge player? Is it going to be a trade that you could pick somebody up, right? Is there something else that you can do? Max Crosby is available. I don't know.
We'll
We
talk
might
about
even talk about
that.
that. Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
But there are options that you can do there. So I just think that the linebacker is a position that also has to be addressed. And I don't know that I really want to go full on like two rookies at a position that is really important for the scheme that we're running here defensively. That's been one of the biggest knocks is our second level. So how do you go and entrust that into two guys that haven't played NFL snaps, right? Do you bring back Trevin Wallace into the starting role immediately just because that's your best option? I don't know how you feel great about that. I don't think you resign Christian Roseboom unless it's for cheap. What are your biggest needs right now coming into it?
Well, just real quick on the center thing, I just have a hard time believing. I think Icky's injury forces their hand on Cade Mays because I have a hard time believing they're going to let their center walk. And plus, you lose your left tackle who might not be ready for a quarter of the season of next year. So I feel like they would be crazy to let Cade Mays walk unless they go out and get a Linderbaum because I think that would be a pretty big upgrade at that position. But that's kind of where I'm at with the center. I would say it's between edge and linebacker for me. I think both of those positions would really boost this defense and take it to another level and something they've lacked. We had the graphic on statistically speaking all year about pressure. It was terrible.
Yep.
They were one of the lowest teams in sacks this past season. It was god awful. They tried to generate pressure with blitzing and everything else. It just didn't work. They need a guy on that defensive line at that edge spot who can get consistent pressure on the quarterback. They just don't have that right now. So
That's a great point. And honestly, no matter what we say about these other positions, Curtis, if you can't generate pass rush, you're not going to find success on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to figure out a way to get after the quarterback. So edge being the number one, I have no gripes with, man.
And then linebacker and left tackle would be kind of tied for me. I know there's hope. It sounds like that, Icky can come back. I don't know. They seemed optimistic about it.
Yeah.
From interviews. I don't think he'll be ready to start the season, but it sounds like they almost want to stopgap at that position until he's healthy again. But yeah, I mean, linebacker has to be addressed too. And I kind of agree with you. I think that's a position they go with a veteran. Like, I have a hard time believing they go with a rookie in that linebacker room at that spot, like to pair with Trevin Wallace. I think they need some experience in that room. And we'll talk about it a little bit, but there's several guys that are potentially out there that could really boost this room.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about Claude Chairless. I don't mean to take a hit at anyone, but like him starting games, like he's a great special teams guy, but I don't want to see him on the starting defense or lineup. I'm sorry, but
I mean, it's crazy because Claude and Trevin didn't play that much differently than each other. And so that's where I think when you start looking at the positions, you say, I just don't think that's good enough from a baseline standpoint. That's not
awful there.
Right. The performance just wasn't good enough. Can we do this question from OPM or can we touch on this? Because this is an interesting one.
I did want to touch on this.
Yeah. It says, can y'all explain what exactly it means, at least to us, to bring in a young quarterback to be developed? I never understood it clearly, especially when you have your franchise quarterback. Just want to know your thoughts. Curtis, do you want to start that?
Yeah, I want to start coming as a former Packers fan. This fits the Ted Thompson mold to a T. His philosophy, he was the Packers GM back in the 2000s, was you draft a QB every single year. Every single year you try to, or you add a quarterback to that room and you develop them. And I mean, you can't knock Green Bay. They've went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. And most of those guys, you guys are distracting the chat. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. Give me a break here. But now I lost my train of thought. But you've had
talking about the quarterback lineage and the way
they took the approach of you always try to develop. So those QBs, they weren't throwing out Bryce Young to the Wolves in his first year. They're letting these guys sit 1, 2, 3. I mean, Aaron Rodgers sat 3-4 years. Jordan Love sat 3-4 years. I mean, it was just this consistent approach. I know John Schneider comes from that tree in Seattle. He's followed that. I mean, they drafted Russell Wilson after signing Matt Flynn to a massive deal way back in the day, and look how that worked out for them. So, like, that has been always the thinking of, you always continue to draft that position because it is the most important position on the field. And, and you just develop those guys on the back end, so you're not forcing them out into situations. So I think that's kind of the approach. I don't mind. I think that's a smart approach to take. Ricky, you can take this wherever you want.
No, I pretty much feel the same as that. As there's, unless you have a proven, genuinely quality backup, and how many people do, right? And you see some of these guys like Malik Willis had a really good season when he was able to play this year. That's another Packer, though, that they bring in a young guy. When the question is, if you know you have your franchise quarterback, I'm pretty sure they feel that Jordan Love is their franchise quarterback, right? Like, they definitely feel that they have a future with him, but they still brought in a very talented guy to develop. Worst case scenario, what you have is if he can garner trade value, or if somebody signs him to a big contract because he comes out and he has a great year. If the worst case scenario happens to Jordan Love and he tears an ACL, right, in week 1 or week 2, and Malik Willis has to play 15 games, he leads them to the playoffs, whatever it might be, and he's your guy and he's leaving on free agency. If he gets signed to a large contract, understand that probably nets you a 3rd round comp pick, at least one, right? There are benefits of playing that game, of not knowing what's going to happen with your guy. Even if you feel really good about your quarterback, health is a big part of it. You have to stay healthy for a really long time, right? You have to stay healthy for the duration of the season. 2 or 3 losses, unexpected losses because of your quarterback being out, can change the trajectory of your entire season. Look at, like even the Falcons this year are an example. That team, and Penix Jr. wasn't playing terrific ball or anything, but they had this uncertainty, this unsure element to that position, and they ended up being a couple games out of the playoffs. You don't want your whole team blown up for that. Joe Burrow, when this is what I was talking about earlier, when you construct an entire roster for the playoffs and for the postseason and contending and competing, but it is kind of focused on your offense, you got to have somebody that can do it. Andy Dalton's not leading any of these teams to the playoffs. Like, he's just not going to. Who is the backup in the NFL right now that you can point to and say, no, that guy could carry the team, right? Like, I just don't know that there is. So you go and you draft these young guys, you teach them your system without them having to play a whole lot. If you run into a contract situation with your quarterback, but you feel really good about the guy waiting in the wings, maybe there's a financial decision you have to make. I don't think that's where Carolina is, but I don't see any detriment in drafting a guy in the late rounds or taking an undrafted free agent. When we talk about developing, I'm not saying go and draft, who's the kid? Ty Simpson out of Alabama at pick 19. I would never do that. That's not a wise use of your assets, right? Mm-hmm. Of your draft capital. But why wouldn't you go and take a chance on a guy like Garrett Nussmeier if he falls into the 5th round? Like, right. Do you think that he has the physical tools to turn into an adequate backup? Maybe even a plus starter at some point? Maybe. You see like Dak Prescott. He was drafted not necessarily to be the starter, right? But Dak Prescott, they got him. They drafted him with the intent of developing him, and now he is their franchise quarterback. You just keep on picking up darts because you never know which one's going to hit the bullseye.
Well said. We'll go to Carter's super chat here. Ricky had me really interested in Freeling. I want a fucking Hawkeye, and I want one now. Damn it. Ricky, thank you for the draft guide. Love it. Keep pounding, guys. Appreciate you, Carter.
Cheers. Cheers. I do. I'm a Monroe Freeling guy. I like him. I like his tools. You talk about some of these guys that you worry about, like their physicality, mainly like the Utah tackles. They're going to be questioned about their strength at the point of attack, both Caleb Lomu and Spencer Freno. But I think that a guy like Monroe Freeling, great movement skills, 6'7", huge wingspan, long arms, very physical, can move, man. I mean, he's really got some good feet for a guy that big. I think that he's a really intriguing prospect, and I don't think that he comes out of Georgia if the intent was to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. So that tells me that he's probably been told by his people, by people around the league, by scouts, hey man, you come out and you blow away the testing like we all expect you to. You've seen the clips. I don't know if, or actually, I should say you have seen. If you haven't seen him, go check out his high school basketball clips. This dude is out there. He's dunking. He's running the court on the fast break. He's running back and he's rejecting a layup off the backboard. I mean, this is like old, vintage LeBron looking blocks when he's running up from behind, Andre Iguodala type shit. But he's 6'7", 300 pounds. Like, he's an impressive athlete. And that is something that I look for. You talk about a Hawkeye, Logan Jones, give me him. I'll take Max Llewellyn in the 4th or the 5th, the edge rusher out of there. Jennings Dunker, I do like Jennings Dunker. I just don't know if he's an outside guy or inside. I think he leans more inside. There's just a lot of things, man. I enjoy it. The draft guide is not out yet. Dalton asked, he said, is the draft guide out? Not yet, man. That's going to be in April. This is a very intensive exercise for me. I struggle getting this thing out on time, so it'll be last minute as always.
I do want to we'll stick with free agency here, and I know the Matt Crosby questions, we got them. We're getting to that, but Dan Morgan was asked by Thomas Davis on Panthers Huddle the other day about what he thought about the linebacker room. And Thomas Davis asked him to the effect, is a linebacker position the Panthers are going to take a harder look at in free agency or the draft? Because Thomas Davis felt like from top to bottom, the depth just hasn't been that great, basically. And Dan Morgan said, I think it might be a combination where we go free agency and in the draft as well. Ricky, we both said that was a position of need. There are several free agents out there. We've seen a couple already in the chat tonight. Any free agent guys out there that intrigue you for the Panthers to target possibly?
I know that we're going to talk about this later too. And first I'll answer Bo's question real quick. He said, where's Edgar the GOAT? Our friend Edgar Salmingo Jr., who I do the Draft Crush with, is actually coaching his son in basketball for the next few Wednesday nights. So go little Salmingo, go show him your stuff, buddy. But yeah, Edgar will be around at some point. We're going to try to work that out. I actually don't know. Schedules are crazy. So we're going to figure that shit out as much as we can. Curtis, can we loop in? I know that we talked about this. We were going to talk about your question to Mike K. Can we loop that in possibly with this conversation?
No, let's not even touch on that yet. Sorry.
But there's a okay. I'll try to do this without doing that then.
No, I'll rephrase the question. Let's go this route.
Okay.
Would you rather address that position in free agency or the draft?
I think it has to be addressed. So I agree with Dan. I think it has to be addressed in both. But I think that what you have to start with is a plan on what player you're targeting in free agency and how much you're willing to spend on that. Because if you were to go and grab a guy like Devin Lloyd, who we've seen in the chat, right? If Jacksonville allows him to go and test the waters, first, he is going to garner one of the largest, if not the largest, linebacker contract in the league, probably right now. As a free agent, he is set to reset that market for the linebacker position, in my opinion. He is a very well-rounded prospect. Doesn't do a ton on the pass rush side. And that's where I was trying to get with this of knowing which kind of player you're going to get. Because if the other guy that you like is a guy like, let's say, Leo Chenal, right? Former Wisconsin player. I know you would love that. But for him, I think that he has some of the same hindrances in coverage that what we see right now with some of our players. I think he's a little bit lumbering, getting back to his drops. He is athletic enough from a standpoint of being able to move, but he's not overly dynamic. But as a pass rusher, as a thumper, he offers a lot. I think that's the kind of chess piece you use there. But if you do that, then you need somebody that has that coverage capability. You need somebody that maybe does a little bit more of the identification, the call outs, the communication to the defense, a more classic Mike, if you will. I think that those are the things you have to figure out. I would lean personally, if you can get Devin Lloyd and they're okay shelling out that money, I think I would do it. You got to shore up that position. Nakobe Dean is another possibility.
Dean is, yeah,
And he's got familiarity in the Fangio
got
system
some
playing with the
injury
Eagles.
history too, but yes.
Yeah, and that's interesting. But you know what? Nakobe Dean would force them to also come out of their comfort zone to sign him because he's undersized. And so that opens up the draft possibilities for me. If you don't need a jumbo sized linebacker, if that's not your priority, right? No, you're not going to draft Luke Kuechly just because you draft a tall guy, right? Like Luke Kuechly was 101, man. That's just it. We got to get that romance out of our head. It ain't going to happen again. I love Jake Galladay. Jake Galladay isn't Luke Kuechly, man. Like, and if you expect him to be, you're going to be really disappointed. Jack Campbell is a much better thing to look at if you look at Jake Galladay with a little bit of pass rush, maybe. Although his pass rush moves, I think, got to improve. Just because he used to play on the edge doesn't mean he's some guaranteed to come in. The difference is there's not a Jahad Campbell type player in this draft. There's not this ultra rangy, dynamic pass rusher that can also play in coverage and who just happens to be 20 years old, right? For me, that kind of player is a guy like Torian York. But Torian York falls into that Nakobe Dean thing, where Torian York is 5'10" and a half, 232 pounds, but sub 31-inch arms. So, like, can you get over the size things? Because for me and linebackers now, man, I need instinct. I need a guy who sees the game well, that sees the offense in front of him and knows how to play that position. I need that. I don't need just traits that you're trying to teach them how to play linebacker. I need a guy that plays linebacker that also has those traits. And for me, that's Torian York. That's Jake Galladay. It's
What's
obviously Sonny Styles.
What's your thoughts on Jacob Rodriguez?
See, that was the guy that I thought we were talking about with the Senior Bowl. That's who I anticipated the entire chat to talk about was Jacob Rodriguez.
And I saw some of your comments on Twitter. That's why I asked about it. Where are you at with him?
So I love him. I love his instinct. I love his feel for the position. I love how he sees the
instinct.
game.
You want a guy with good instinct.
I do. I absolutely want that. But the one thing that you can't sacrifice just to have that, right, is everything else. I think his effort and his playmaking disposition is phenomenal. I don't feel as confident as many people that I see talking about going to drafting him at 19, drafting him in the second round. I have hesitation with the physical limitations that I see with him. He gets beat to the outside a good amount, and not by necessarily NFL caliber players, by college players. He gets beat outside. A lot of his overaggression comes from knowing that he has one chance to finish that play. It's not necessarily stopping power that he hits with. The peanut punch is something that he relies on a lot. The interceptions that he has created are terrific, but his athleticism is going to limit him in coverage. His size is going to limit him in coverage. Like, if you're going to take a smaller guy to do this, and just because of his instincts, give me Torian York, because I think that he has more physical talent and more speed, more side-to-side speed. I think he covers ground. I think he's a better blitzer. Jacob Rodriguez doesn't blitz, man. He doesn't offer you much as a pass rusher. Now, last season, he ended up rushing the pass rusher a lot more, and he had some solid production from it, and they stopped it again because you put him into congestion, you put him into traffic, and he gets swallowed up. And that is not something I want from our second level. I think we need enforcers, whether it's from a physical stature side or whether it's from a thumping power, stopping power side. And you got to have somebody that can really play in coverage. So for me, man, I'm just not as high on Jacob Rodriguez. If you take him in the third or the fourth, look, I'm not going to complain about it. I love the guy's mentality. I just think that there are a handful of guys that I would rather go after and allocate some stuff. Jake Galladay being one of those guys. Sonny Styles obviously is the dream. I think he's probably a top 15 pick, though, so you would need something to really happen. I'm not as high on a guy like Anthony Hill Jr. as many people are. I think I've said that a couple times too. But there are some other guys, man, that I like. CJ Allen I would be okay with in the second round, possibly maybe even the third. I'm just not a CJ Allen at 19 guy. I think that he has some limitations as well.
Sorry, folks, we're jumping around a little bit here.
We are, yeah. It's turning into a draft crush episode if we don't get out of this.
Let's go to Jay Glazer today. This has kind of come up. There was other reports this week. He wants to go to a contender. That came up. But Jake Glazer said today Max Crosby's time with the Raiders is most likely done. And then he went on, he furthered that and asked, what would be the compensation? And, they said it would be more than what Micah Parsons garnered, which I thought was interesting because
that's crazy.
He's coming off of a major injury. and I don't doubt him that he's going to be back and playing probably near the level he was playing at, because that's just the type of player he is, and the mentality he has. But that's a steep price, and I get it. Like he's an outstanding
They
player.
said his price would be more than Micah Parsons' price.
Unless I heard that wrong, it was either the same or higher. Yes.
Christ.
So and the Packers gave up what, 2 first rounders and Kenny Clark for him. So,
Yeah.
Max Crosby, Ricky, you're the GM. You picking up the phone, you making a trade. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I'm definitely picking up the phone. I'm calling, man. Like, you just had the worst pass rush rate, pressure rate, right? Quarterback pressure rate in the NFL once again this season. You had it last season too. I do think that you're going to see a step from Nick Scorton. I think that you're going to see Pat Jones come back, and Pat Jones is going to be very instrumental in Nick Scorton getting to do some other things as well. DJ Wanham has probably seen his last time wearing a Panthers jersey, if I had to guess. I also think that Princely Umanmielen is going to start to get a little bit more looks. Now, Princely didn't have exactly what everyone anticipated him having, but he showed a bit. He showed enough to give him some more reps. I think he's earned that. I think in training camp, maybe you see him play a little bit more in preseason. Maybe you see him get him run with the ones. Get these guys more comfortable with playing and playing with that first unit and give them some more time together. But those two rookies, man, like I still think that they're going to be involved in this. I think that Pat Jones is involved, but you are a premier pass rusher away from having any kind of serious unit in that regard in the league. And if it's Max Crosby that you can get to do that, I think you do it. My thing is, you can't ask me for the same price as Micah Parsons. You can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't think that's worth it. I think
Chad confirmed it was more than Parsons. It was
more than Parsons is crazy. At that point, I would pick up the phone just to be like, "Hey, good for you, buddy. Like you put those balls right there on the table, and you told everyone to look at your nuts. That's fun for you. I hope that you get the remarks in the comments back that you were looking for, because I don't think you're going to get the compensation that you're looking for. But people might say, "Hey, nice nuts." I don't want to give you all my first round picks though for Max Crosby. Max Crosby is a game changer. He's a team changer. He's a culture changer. I do believe in his talent. I think that it's absolutely worth any reasonable price to get him. I think that he would work well here. I think that he is the kind of personality that would mesh really well with the guys in the locker room. But I'm not giving up the entire future for a guy like Max Crosby. I would rather look at the free agents and say, hey, can we get a Jalen Phillips? Can we get a Owe out of the Chargers? Like, or do we even go bargain value shopping? You go for Arnold Epikite out of Atlanta, the former Penn State Nittany Lion. I'd give him a shot. I just think that there are different things that you could do here. Or Arnold actually, I think, played at Minnesota. I think that Owe played at Penn State. I've been looking at so many different player cards, essentially. It's awful, man. But yeah, so that was my thought. What would your price be on Max Crosby? How high would you go on that?
Well, I would, of course, pick up the phone. I mean, you would be stupid not to. I think Jay Glazer said today that when they found this report out, 20 teams called Jay Glazer. 20 teams reached out. And what
was Jay going to do?
No, they were asking what the asking price was.
Oh, because they thought he knew.
Yeah. And he's like, I have no idea. That's but anyway,
he could just be talking nonsense out of his pinstripe suit, to be
I
fair.
I do think 2 first rounders would probably be what gets it done. I don't know if they get 2 first rounders in a player. I think that's especially with a guy coming off of an injury. What is his injury? I know it's a serious one, but it's can someone in the chat help us out here?
Let's see if we can look up real quick.
But I think two first rounders is probably the starting point. I would definitely consider it, but I will say this: I don't think it happens in Carolina. If I was a guessing man, I think Dan Morgan values draft picks way too much.
Yeah.
And I do not see this happening whatsoever.
It's a torn meniscus in his knee.
Okay. So not as bad as I thought, I guess.
He played through it until they shut him down late. He said it happened in October. week 7, sustained in week 7. He played through it for most of the season. So he underwent repair, trim surgery in January. Recovery, probably looking at middle to end of OTAs for a full recovery. So, I mean, he should be able to play the entire season. But again, when you start having those injuries at a relatively older age, he's not old
No, he ain't.
necessarily.
He's like 28, 27.
Yeah.
He's young still.
He's played a good amount of ball though, right? And like you got to think of the physical wear and tear. That wouldn't deter me though from going and bringing him in. I just think that you incorporate that into the price.
Yeah. And he, like you said, he's a game wrecker. Like he would take this defense to a whole nother level, and would be one of the missing pieces they really need to take it up a notch defensively. So no doubt about it, I would make the call. I'd see what they'd want, and I would definitely consider it. Now to the flip side of that, let's go to that free agent question. So I had reached out to Mike K on Twitter. He was looking for mailbag questions, and I really kind of want to find this. So I'm giving you.
There was that Wisconsin creeping out. I can't believe someone didn't know you were from Wisconsin. Yeah, all the times that he said something about what do you say? Can mailbag, anything like that. It creeps out.
I try to avoid the word those words, but that one just
there went your career as a postal worker, huh? I don't like saying mailbag. That's out for me.
Damn, how far back was this?
Curtis be getting them tweets off.
Let's see here.
Let's see. Matty Coops, while you're doing that, I'll read this long comment. Matty Coops says, seems like all the bargain edge rushers we have gotten the last few years have been incredibly underwhelming. Do not disagree at all there, Matty. Wanham, Clowney, Pat Jones. Pat Jones, man, I was starting to really enjoy Pat Jones until the injury. I thought he was really starting to come on, to be honest. We'll be very frustrated to see the same strategy this year, knowing the need and availability.
We're going to get into that right here. Okay. Trust me. All right. So I said, this is what I tweeted to Mike. I said, Dan Morgan seems to target at least one big fish in free agency every offseason. First year it was Rob Hunt. Last year it was Milton Williams. Obviously fell short of that. Trayvon Merrick was the consolation prize. That was their big ticket item. Who do you think it will be this offseason? Mike replied to that. Said Merrick was arguably their big swing last year. Not sure on this year. Could see Linderbaum, which I thought was interesting, based on their spending habits. Devin Lloyd and the linebacker group make the most sense to top market sign because that's cheaper than other premium positions. Ricky, I will pose it to you.
Yeah.
Who is, if you had a crystal ball, who is Dan Morgan gonna spend the money on this offseason if you had to pick one player?
Mike makes a solid point with the whole, if you look at their spending habits because of Damian Lewis and because of Rob Hunt, and then even maybe the extension for Taylor Moton, right? Just that they clearly value that offensive line and they know how imperative it is for Bryce Young. But I think that's a little bit more isolated when you talk about Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt. That interior was so bad, and there was an opportunity to double up at it and just shore that up right away. I have a hard time, man, personally. And I have talked to some people, very intelligent, football smart people, that have said they think that Tyler Linderbaum also makes sense and they could see them going after it. I'm not going to have a problem with that. I have a tough time foreseeing that personally. If I had to guess, sorry about that. I didn't want to burp directly into the microphone, so I muted. If I had to say personally what I would do, Devin Lloyd being the top of his position, I would look at that. I would absolutely kick the tires. I would also kick the tires on a guy like Jalen Phillips that just went from Miami to Philadelphia, right? In that Fangio defense, once again, that you know that they rely so much on getting pressure with their front as opposed to sending extra players. Jalen looked good in Philly. Now, there was a lot of talent around him, but there's going to be talent around him in Carolina too on the defensive front. Let's don't act like Derek Brown and Bobby Brown and potentially Nick Scorton, potentially Pat Jones. Let's don't act like those aren't pieces. Like, those are pieces, dude. Those aren't bums like we used to talk about with the Carolina Panthers. And I don't want that to be the way that our fans talk about our defensive front anymore, because I don't think that it sucks, man. I think that it can be really good, and it's not there yet, but it doesn't suck, dude. It's not the worst. From a pressure standpoint, it is underwhelming. Jalen Phillips can come in and remedy that. So Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd were probably my two that I would look at, and I would make a big splash in free agency with one of those two. I think that's probably where I allocate it. But if it's Tyler Linderbaum, I got no issues with that either because that was one of my favorite players coming out.
Yeah, I liked him out of Iowa, but we've been talking about Iowa too much in this episode.
A lot of Iowa.
Um,
Yeah.
I would go Devin Lloyd if I had a choice. He intrigues me. I think linebacker's a huge need. What I think they do, and we have not mentioned this guy's name, and that is Trey Hendrickson. And I know that's out of their little threshold of who they've been signing recently, of that 28-year-old range ish. He's 31, has played mainly or majority of his career in a 4-3 defense. But I trust our guy Bryson when he said the Panthers had interest in him a year or two ago.
That's a good point.
As a possible trade candidate, I still think they have interest in him, and I do think they need a veteran in that room. I know they have Pat Jones coming off injury. I agree with you. I think Wanham's out the door. Scorton, I think at bringing in a guy like Trey Hendrickson, you don't have to make a trade for him like you would Max Crosby. You don't have to give up draft picks. You can sign a guy who has 15 plus sacks in a year and bring him into a room that needs veteran leadership, I think. So if I had to guess at all, I think that would be their big ticket guy is Trey Hendrickson. I know he's a little bit on the older side, but if I had to guess, I totally forgot about Jalen Phillips. I think that is a strong possibility too from Philly, playing in Van Gio's system coming over. My concern with that is, how does he do when, how do I word this? He was in a very elite defensive line group in Philly. How does he do when he needs to be the one pulling the weight at the top? That's my concern with him. And I know he had some struggles in Miami and totally different situation, but what does he do when he is the guy on the, I guess I shouldn't say that because he got Derek Brown, but I mean in that edge room, like you are the guy, you're the prize possession, the money they invested in you. What does he do when that is on the line?
Yeah.
And that's kind of my biggest thing with him. But I do think he's intriguing.
Yeah, that's fair. And I did want to bring up Jalen's point because this is what I was about to say as well. So I'd be worried about paying a lot to Trey, who's going to be over 30 and coming off an injury, because Hendrickson finished the year on IR after I think it was like week 7 or 8. He had a core injury, like a hip or a pelvis or something like that took him out. That's a rough injury to come back from for a younger player.
It could be cheaper. I mean, that might
it could be cheaper. So maybe that's right. So maybe that's some of the appeal, right? Maybe you bet on this guy saying, hey, look, he was in a dead situation in Cincinnati, right? They barely even wanted to pay him to come in and play that year. He might have been able to play through that injury, but he might have said, to hell with that. I'm going to go and get this surgery and I'm going to sit and collect this last year of pay from Cincinnati. And then I'm on my way, right? Like no more cinnamon in my chili. I'm getting the hell out of this town. Maybe he wants to come to the real Queen City, not the fake one like they call Cincinnati. That was a nice little tie-in right there, man. I pat myself on the back for that one. But yeah, I agree with it. It is something to be a little bit hesitant about, but I do think that Trey Hendrickson and his proven production and alpha mentality, I do think would be very beneficial to that room. Jalen Phillips, I don't worry too much about that because Jalen Phillips was the guy at Miami, and I'm talking about college, when he went to the Dolphins. I do think that he did a pretty solid job. I think that injuries were kind of a deterrent for him. I think that he was in very weird situations with the defense there as well. But he showed that going to the new situation in Philly and picking up and really just carrying over with his good play that he had early in that year, the physical tools that he had, being able to show them that they work. I think that is very encouraging. And you get a guy with that age. I just think that what Nick Scorton will benefit a lot, right? And I'm gonna be very individual about this, and I'm gonna single out Nick Scorton because I think that Nick Scorton is what all of us can hang our hat on from this past year on the defensive rookie side, right? Maybe not on the whole outlook on the defense, because Trayvon Merrick was fantastic, Derek Brown was outstanding, and then we know Mike Jack was the real untold story of that defense. But Scorton, man, is the guy that we look at as the future. 21 years old, and the motor just shoots off the tape when you watch it. If you can get him into some really manageable situations because you got a lot of attention, on a guy like Jalen Phillips, Trey Hendrickson, whoever you want it to be, right? Owe. Um, I just think that that's really beneficial, man. And we got to figure out a way to develop these pieces that start showing signs. We got to usher them to the finish line as like top tier players, not just contributors, not just decent guys. Figure out a way to get these guys to that next level, because that's what a lot of these really good franchises in the NFL do. They develop their players into elite players.
Panthers Bo, you're so young and naive. This is a bottle of Tito's, sir. Get with the program.
Don't listen to him. He's lying. He is lying through his teeth, Bo. That's water, and it's awful. I'm gonna write my congressman about this, Bo. I won't let it die. Don't worry.
By the way, your Hornets just traded for Tyus Jones from the Orlando Magic. That just happened 11 minutes ago. So they continue to add.
Loading up in the backcourt, huh? I like Kobe White.
I think it's time for the mock draft. So we've been talking about doing this. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in this, but we wanted to do a little baseline mock draft so we can kind of compare once we get down to April, and you know the chimes are going off in Pittsburgh for that for the first round of the draft. But Ricky, I'm assuming you want to dial this thing up. You got things. Look at that. He's ready to go already.
So what we'll do here too, let's do this real quick, right? Because this mock draft, we have nothing about context of free agency or anything like that.
Correct.
And we're not going to do the hypothetical context on this first one. This one is going to be a baseline of where, Curtis, you and I are standing at right now, right? This is what we're going to do. We're talking about some players. We're going to, if we get faced with a situation where it's an edge or an offensive tackle, we're going to start weighing which one of those positions or which one of those prospects do we want to allocate that resource to, right? No context to it. We're just going to go through this and look at the best players that fall to us. We're going to use the PFF simulator right now. OPM, I see your question or your suggestion in there too about Alontae Taylor. We'll get to that after the draft. We'll see what we talk about with the nickel position and stuff as well. All right, we ready to start this thing off? We're going to do 7 rounds. We'll do this relatively quick. We won't take a whole bunch of time. We're not going to change any of these sliders or anything like that. We're just going to go for it. Are we doing trades before we get into this? Or no trades? All right, we're just going to draft the players. Mm-hmm. All right, let's do this. Start it off. Start the draft. Well, I can already tell you what I would do here. Let's look at who went.
We got a tackle sitting in our lap.
Right. Let's look at who went right before us real quick, okay? Right before us, you got Caleb Banks and TJ Parker. Those are 2 players that you're going to hear a lot of talk, I think, around the Panthers come time.
And the Miami tackle went right before that, too?
And Cassius Howell went 14, which is earlier than some people have him going. Let's look for all the Sonny Styles people. I just want people to see where the temperature is right now, at least on like the mock draft areas. Sonny Styles is getting like top 10 love in a lot of these things. Top 15.
Oh, he's at the Saints in this one. I'd hate that.
I would hate that too. You know what I'm really worried about with the Saints, and I haven't talked about this much, but you know what I'm really worried about? When Jalen Polk comes back. Oh boy. All right. So look, here's what I would do. If you want to know like my honest opinion, just looking at this, it wouldn't be that difficult for me. I'm a big fan of Spencer Fano. I think that he is legitimate. You talk about a guy, we're looking at his stats right here on PFF, but you talk about a guy that could come in and potentially fill in for like the first handful of weeks, half a season, whatever it might be that Icky might need, right? He can play left tackle. He has done it before, not his prime suit. I think he's better suited on the right side. But he has the ability to do that. If you needed him to fill in, I think that he could be a little stopgap for a minute there. I think that Spencer Fano is probably my offensive tackle 1 in this class. I am a big fan of him. People will talk about his power, his strength. He's 6'6", 308. Really good feet, really good feel, great hands. I love his hands. I love his anticipation. But people are going to talk about his strength at the point of attack as a thing that they worry about. I think that he'll be okay. He's a true junior. I think that he'll fill in to his frame still. So I really like him. Curtis, is there a player that you wanted to look at on here?
I just want to see the
what is there a position you want to look at?
Yeah, what's with edge rushers?
Let's look at the edge. So you got Akeem Mesidor.
Yeah, good. I mean,
I'm a big fan of R. Mason Thomas, by the way. If y'all, I'll plant my flag right now on that so that y'all can talk about this later. But R. Mason Thomas, I am a big time fan of, and I like Messidor. I think that this might be a tiny bit early for Messidor.
What about corner?
Corner?
Just curious.
Now, what kind of corner are you looking?
And I'll be honest with you, I have not done one mock draft at all, so I don't know where these guys are falling. Where?
So you got the Clemson kid, Avian Terrell, good inside outside
He's
versatility.
been going around this range, right?
Yeah, good. This is AJ Terrell's brother. So good bloodlines there. I think that you can look at this and say he's probably a nickel at the next range, but he's got some outside ability as well. 5'11", 180. You can see he's played a bunch of games. He allowed 3 touchdowns, had no picks last year. He's not getting a whole ton of throws against him. You see his usage right here. Last year, he had 110 snaps in the slot. So I do think that he has that ability. Dropped interceptions 1, missed tackles 5. Pretty well-rounded player. I think that he would be a nice addition to the secondary if you wanted to do that. I'm not sure. I don't have him rated as high, personally. I like Keith Abney, if we're going to be completely honest about corners and guys that are going to transition to nickel or have the possibility to. I'm a big Keith Abney guy, super physical, really good mirroring ability. I think that he's a really, really good defensive back that gives you that versatility. But I also think that if you want to talk about like the nickel type of role, I look at safeties, man. I am a giant Dylan Thieneman.
That guy is something.
I am a massive fan, and I think that he is exactly the kind of defender that the NFL is moving towards. This guy, you look at his usage, I mean, in the box, 434 snaps, deep 247, in the slot 118. And these are the 2 years like of almost the same usage replicated. Missed tackle rate of 8.3, very physical. Coverage grade. He's got great instincts, great playmaking on the ball.
Well, in Evero's system too.
I just think he's a tremendous player. People will say that 19 is too rich for him, but man, we do this every year where we talk about how good a player is, and then people are like, "It's too early. I don't want him." Even though I think he's really good, it's too early, and then they end up being a really impact player for the NFL team that picks them, right? Like Brian Branch is a great example. Jack Campbell, people ridiculed the Lions for. And he was terrific. Right. I mean, there's literally so many players that fit that billing. But if it were me,
it's a tackle. I think you run the card in if this guy's
I think you take the tackle, right? Because they want to get cheaper on the offensive line. This is a guy that can play right away. If he's great, man, I mean, you figure out something to do with Icky and Moten. Like, I think that you take him, right? So is that what we're doing here?
Yep.
All right, let's do it and let's see how it shakes out. Next pick will be the 51st pick in the second round. So right before us, I like to look and see who went right before us. Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
He had a pretty nice showing at the Senior Bowl as well. D'Angelo Pons, 2 picks before. I know a lot of people love D'Angelo Pons. Eli Stowers, that is my guy at tight end out of Vanderbilt. I think he's tremendous. Anthony Hill Jr. So those are the guys. AJ Halsey's another guy that I'm a big fan of. See, look, Akeem Messidor went at 40, so taking him at 19 would have been a stretch according to this thing. R. Mason Thomas went there. Kenyon Sadiq here falls into the second round. I think that's something that people have to keep in mind, that like Kenyon Sadiq, man, is an undersized guy, to be completely fair. At 6'3", 245 pounds, that's not a huge tight end. Ultra dynamic athlete, but not a huge tight end. And most of the really good tight ends in the NFL are big players, man.
I think we need to look at edge or linebacker. I agree with the chat here. I think.
Let's take a look. Let's go to linebacker first, can we? All right.
Trotter.
You got Josiah Trotter and Jake Gallday. I think that what you look at is your next pick is at pick 83 in the third. Torian York and Jacob Rodriguez are both kind of in that range, according to this simulator, at least. Aiden Fisher, Panther Bo asked earlier about who's else from Indiana or Texas Tech. Aiden Fisher would be one of the guys from Indiana that I do like. Kyle Lewis, I mean, how high do you think he goes? I think his undersize is not going to allow him to go before like the third or fourth round. So this is your moment that if you really want to get one of the premier linebackers in this draft class, and I think there's a lot of good ones in this class, I think this is a good time to strike for that. Look at the edge real quick. So Romello Height is the speed guy out of all these. Joshua Josephs as well. Joseph is a guy that gets a lot of pressures, but he doesn't get a lot of sacks. He's also very situational. He's light 240. Really good length though on Joseph. Joseph is a guy that I could see them being a little bit interested in. Derek Moore fits the physical profile for the Panthers almost to a T. He's 6'3", 260. He has like 34.5-inch arms.
He showed up too, and I think it was the Senior Bowl. He had a couple moments. Overton was the guy I wrote down.
Yeah. So I liked Overton last year as a prospect. When I was going through, I liked what I saw from him. I didn't love as much. I think that he's a really solid run defender. I think that he's got good length. He's got good size, kind of that tweener mentality, almost that tweener build for him. I'm not sure that's the direction I would go for the Carolina Panthers in this draft for this year. Just out of curiosity, I don't know if I saw, did Tiananmen go? Yeah, he did. Where did he go?
Bud Clark's still around.
He went 39th. So see, look, if we were talking about like trade back scenarios, one of the more appealing things is that if you can grab a second round pick later, right? You trade back and you grab Dylan Tiananmen at the end of round one and get 2 in the second so that you can grab one of these linebackers and potentially one of these edges.
Can we go, what was the board in front of Carolina? Who went like the first 3 picks in front of them in that second round?
Colton Hood, D'Angelo Pons.
I would have traded. I would have tried to trade out for that. The Purdue and Oregon safety. I think that guy's going to be really good.
Tiananmen, yeah, he went at 39.
39.
So here's the interesting thing about going at 39. One of my favorite exercises doing a mock draft. The Browns have picked 24 and 39, right? So one of the things, what Brant Tillis likes to do, he likes to trade the same amount of picks. He doesn't like giving up picks, but if you could trade pick 19 and 83, or even 19 and 51 if you had to, but 19 and 83 would be the ideal one because the cost that you're asking them to pay is to move up and get their guy in that first round, right? Like that's the guy that they are salivating over. That's where you try to say, hey, look, give me 24 and 39 and I'll throw you 19 and 83, right? And then you are able to double dip and get the Tiananmen and still have that pick. I'd take the Tiananmen at 24, to be completely honest. I'd have no qualms with that. But for this one, Curtis, here's what I think. Keontae Scott also is a nickel that a lot of people really like.
I think we can go linebacker here.
I think you go linebacker as well. I'm 100% on board with that. So let's go to these linebackers. You like Trotter more than Galladay?
I don't know much about Galladay. I think Rodriguez is intriguing. I know you have your limitation with him.
So you would take Rodriguez this high?
Considering it, I also like Trotter. Yeah. Like that would be those two would be my pick. Would be one of those guys.
Trotter, we know, is the son of NFL linebacker for the Eagles. Trotter, his brother also played at Clemson. I believe he was drafted. I can't remember where he was drafted to. Was it the Bills? No, it wasn't the Bills, was it? I can't remember. But redshirt sophomore, young guy, 6'2", 237, thumper. His deficiencies are in coverage. And it's not just like a little bit of a deficiency. It's a real deficiency. I do think that he will be used more in a pass rushing capacity in the NFL. I was having this conversation on Twitter the other day. He has reps of it, examples of it. I believe he had about 50 snaps this past year and 50 before at West Virginia before transferring. I think that you'll see him used more because his athleticism and his power, his ability to just burst through and get off of the edge, not necessarily as an edge rusher, but coming off on a free thing. He's got the athleticism to get home. He's interesting. Galladay is the jumbo linebacker of today. I mean, this is the prototype of what you see a lot of these really successful players, 6'4", 240, a former edge defender that they transitioned over into a linebacker. I think that he's really intriguing. He's got good movement skills. I do wonder a little bit about the instinct part with him, with the position translating.
I need a guy that can cover like that. That for me is, I think, is huge.
Well, and the other thing you do here, right? And look, if we're going to be the GM and we're looking at this, the other thing that you could do is that if you really like Jacob Rodriguez or if you really like Kyle Lewis, right? If that's something that you really, really like, do you just double tap on the linebacker position and you say, look, give me Josiah Trotter, give me Jake Galladay, give me one of these guys, Eagles. Thank you, OPM. Trotter went to the Eagles. if you grab two of these guys, I mean, what's the problem, right?
Yeah.
You're going to need it. You're trying to redo that entire room. So do you get complementary pieces through the draft? It's possible. So chat, do y'all have anything that you weigh in here? Do you like Galladay? Do you like Trotter? What are we thinking here? Curtis, you got a lean on this, man? And are we zeroing in too much on just this position, though?
I mean,
Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana is also sitting right here.
Yeah, he's intriguing.
Really interesting player, really terrific rack threat. Good route tree. I think it's only getting better. I think that he's a complete wide receiver. I like him a lot. I have a round 2 grade on him.
I mean, do you roll? He is intriguing.
Who else? Tight end was. Look at tight end. If Max Clare is there, I think that Max Clare is probably my favorite tight end in this class. I absolutely love Max Clare. Another guy that played at Purdue. That will make Panther Bo very happy. 6'5", 245. Really good blocker. Good move blocker. I think he's probably best not in line, but I think he can play in line. I don't think that's a limitation that he has. Rack threat, good hands, strong hands. Really, he's used to volume, man. When I look at these tight ends and you're talking about a receiving threat, I need a tight end that is completely capable of handling like a key role. I don't want to try to take a guy like Tommy Tremble, who has all the athleticism in the world and caught like 40 passes in 3 years in college. That ain't going to work for me. I need a guy who is known to play that position, who is known to be a target. And that's what I need if you're going to try to focus that.
Have we looked at interior defensive line? We haven't. I don't think we've touched that.
Take a look real quick. There's nobody in here that I would take this pick over the linebackers or anyone available.
Okay, they've all. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so like some of these guys like Grayson Halton, Skylar Gill Howard, some of these guys are interior rushers, but a guy like Darrell Jackson Jr. and Dominique Orange, the big citrus they call him, I love him. He's a really fun player with a killer nickname. They're run defenders, and as much as I enjoy shoring up that run defense, we have to focus and get some disruptors on this defense. I think we just have to.
I mean, do we roll the I go back to the wide receivers because I'm intrigued. Do you think we can get Cooper and then get one of these linebackers at what's the next pick? 81 for us?
83. Yeah, could you grab Cooper and then could you go and get a Jacob Rodriguez or a Torian York? It's very possible. But that's also, do you think that they like Torian York and Jacob Rodriguez enough? Because that's very different than what they prioritize.
I don't care what they prioritize. I
want the guys that you like.
Yeah.
I hear you. But I think the other thing that you could do is if you grab Jake Galladay or Josiah Trotter, who I like both of them, right? Yeah. If you go and you do that, let's look at the skill positions for a second. You got other tight ends that you can look at, right? You got the Michael Trigg that some people like. I'm out on him. He's got some character things going on, and I'm just not sold on him as a threat with the ball after the catch. Justin Jolly, North Carolina State. People really like him, 6'3", 250, but he's got like extremely long arms and huge mitts. He's a good pass catching tight end. Sam Roush out of tight end U, Stanford. Marlon Klein's a guy, like he's an older guy, but man, you talk about.
I think Roush is one of the guys that he didn't have a great Senior Bowl, and I get it, Senior Bowl.
And then Tanner Koziel is probably going to be a guy that you could get later if you want to look at that, but that's tight end. Wide receiver wise, there are other guys. Skylar Bell is going to be someone in that range in the next pick at 78. Deion Burks is a really twitched up guy. Zachariah Branch is someone that people love. Branch is fast, man. I worry about Branch, to be completely honest. Eric Rivers, Eric McAllister, even both good yak guys. Ted Hurst, the guy out of Georgia State, also had a really terrific Senior Bowl. We didn't talk about him. There's Tyron Montgomery, the FCS out of John Carroll, Cyrus Allen. So I mean, there are options. But Omar Cooper, here's the thing, dude. You're talking about, do you want one of your premier prospects, right, of Omar Cooper, or do you want one of your premier linebacker prospects?
Yeah.
I think that I probably lean linebacker here, to be completely honest. Me personally.
I'm fine with that because I do think there's some intriguing wide receivers later on too.
And I would probably
isn't as high up as a need.
I think if it were between these two, and this isn't about my personal.
Are you comfortable? You mentioned Galladay here, and I don't know much about him. Mm-hmm. Are you comfortable with this guy in coverage? Because
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm much more comfortable with Galladay in coverage than I am with Trotter in coverage. Like much more.
And you like him over Rodriguez?
I like both of them over Rodriguez pretty handedly. I like Torrey and York over Rodriguez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's pull the trigger on Galladay then.
Let's go Galladay and just see how it shakes out. Look at that. That's all interesting. So you got Skylar Bell sitting right there.
Branch, man. I like Branch.
And then you got Branch, who I know you like. Deion Burks. You still had Jacob Rodriguez. Now here's the other guy, Sam Hecht, the center. Brian Parker sitting right there. None of these guys
will be our next pick?
119. None of these guys will be there at 119. So I mean, you got a decision to make here. If you really want to allocate, the other thing is Brendan Thompson out of Washington State.
I make these mocks because some of these guys I think are going to be there at that.
Here's the thing with me on the receivers though. If you're at this point, a guy like Brendan Thompson or even Kevin Coleman Jr., these two guys sitting right here next to each other. There's also Barry Brown out of LSU. I don't know where he is on here. Lewis Bond is there. There are guys later in this draft that if you miss on, and Skylar Bell, man, I think he's really intriguing. I'm not 1,000% sold on the jump that it's going to take. 6 foot, 185. He's a red.
We got to look at edge, man. I mean, we haven't even addressed that.
It's true too. Edge is going to be depressing when you see who's left out there. Know. For me, it's this guy, Malachi Lawrence, or Nadeem Tucker. I like both of them. Max Llewellyn is another guy. Eric O'Neill is a late guy. And then there's your guy, Mason Reiger.
Yeah, Reiger will be there late, way late.
I don't know that you take Nadeem Tucker had one huge year of production for Western Michigan this past year. But he's an interesting guy. He's got shorter arms too. 6'3", 250, physical, great first step, great fire off the step.
What about interior D lineman?
Let's see.
I know we're kind of in that range where.
Again, it just doesn't move me right now, man. Like, I think if you don't go like Caleb Banks or somebody early, you might not. I'm not saying you punt on it, but there's a guy like Rayshawn Benny out of Michigan that I like later that I would go for there.
Where's your head at for position wise? I mean, I like Branch. I think Branch is a dynamic player, but
so Zakee Wheatley
is starting to fall short.
Yeah. Zakee Wheatley is also interesting. He could do a lot of things in the secondary as well. He could play that nickel position. He could play the deep. He could play in the box. This is a player I know that Jared Feinberg, our buddy, I know that he's high on Zakee Wheatley. Genesis Smith, talk about a true center fielder, man, and a ball hawk. Genesis Smith is absolutely that guy. His tackling, his physicality absolutely worries me a bit. But super dynamic ball hawking free safety. I'd probably lean Bud Clark or Bishop Fitzgerald is a guy that I'm really high on. I like Bishop Fitzgerald a whole lot. I would absolutely consider him later too. But we were looking at wide receiver against linebacker, some sort of playmaker. But then Sam Hecht really caught my attention there too. I think that's a guy that you got to consider. Brian Parker. Those are guys that could come in and start immediately. But you have the opportunity to get a guy like Logan Jones, Parker Brailsford, or even Pat Coogan out of Iowa or Indiana. You got those guys sitting there too. I don't know where Yeager Burton is. Over here at 166. So you could wait, but I think the Sam Hecht or
I like
Brian
Rutledge too.
Keon Rutledge.
Yeah, and he's probably available later, but
Keelan Rutledge, yeah, here he is, 122. And you might could get him. All right, so maybe
I'd rather wait on that.
Okay, so let's narrow it down here. Chat, I see is saying center or edge position, in my opinion, for Black Panther. Panther Bo says, someone say nickel, let's go. Dalton says, Burks brings the juice. Come on, Boomer. Yeah, no. Deion Burks is interesting. Deion Burks has had some injury issues that concern me a little bit. But when he is on the field, man, yeah, he's super dynamic.
So, Ricky, I mean, my vote, man, we do it. We need edge, though. We really need edge, but
you can't force it, though, right?
I know. I mean, if I had it, my choice would be Branch. That's my submission. That's what I'm going with. So you can either listen to chat or veto me, but if I had to choose, that would probably be my pick.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. I mean, man, here's what you got to look at, right? See these screen catches for Zachariah Branch? 44, second most in the NCAA. Average depth of target, 3.6, 510th in the NCAA. Screen yards, 313 of his 811 came from screens. Slot, 628. I mean, he's a slot receiver in an NFL today. And I mean slot receiver as in like, that's about the only thing you do. He's gonna have to be limited there in an NFL that really isn't valuing that kind of player right now.
Yeah.
That worries me. Just being completely honest, man. I'm not gonna talk you out of your guy if that's what you like, because I think that I got my guy with Galladay. So if you want to go Branch here, we could do it and just play it out and see how it goes. It could also be like a placeholder.
We do have those linebackers. I mean, I don't mind doubling up on linebacker, and Rodriguez is still there. So, I mean, I don't mind that either.
Cornerback, did we look at that?
No, we haven't even.
Kilgore, but I think you could get him later. I like Kilgore a lot too as a nickel. I like him a lot. Linebacker. I don't think that I would go and get Rodriguez right here personally. I think that if it were me, I go center or one of those wide receivers.
And what wideout you like?
If it was down to these guys, I mean, see, this is tough for me too, because honestly, man, I like Cyrus Allen as much as I like some of these guys. Antonio Williams is interesting. I think Antonio Williams has a little bit of juice to him as well. Skylar Bell is a guy that a lot of people like, though. A lot of people like. I think either way, if you get a wide receiver here in this mock, right? Let's just say you get a wide receiver in the mock. It could be a placeholder of saying, hey, here's where our mindset is. We want an explosive receiver in this range. Now, Deion Burks, if I had to choose between Zachariah Branch and Deion Burks, I'm going Deion Burks probably 8 out of 10 times. His injuries make me a little bit more nervous, but Zachariah Branch's game makes me a little nervous. But if you like Branch, let's go Branch. That's your guy.
Well, don't hit it yet. Can we go back to Edge one more time? I know we don't want to force something.
No, that's okay.
I just feel like we're 3 rounds in and we don't have.
Kamara is so fun, man, but he's just so small compared to like what they do. 6'1", 260. He doesn't have the elite athleticism, but man, he is havoc. I mean, he's havoc, man. 10 sacks last year. You see the pressures the past 2 years. I mean, look at those pressures.
All right, chat saying you might have Heck here because chats might veto me on this. Everyone, you got a couple in here. Go back to the centers.
You see, Black Panther here says Malachi Lawrence. Malachi would probably be the guy that I would take a chance at. If I was going to push an edge here, it would be Nadeem Tucker or Malachi Lawrence. I like Malachi. He's got the length. He's got the size that makes sense for Carolina. He's got the production. Let's look at Malachi real quick. Later. Malachi right here is 6'4", 250. Well, that's the thing. In this simulator, you might be able to get him later. I'm just not sure that in the real NFL it's going to be that way. Now, a lot of people like Jayshawn Barham, which I'm familiar with Jayshawn because he was a Maryland Terrapin before transferring over to Michigan. They had him playing off ball. They think that he'll transition to edge permanently at the NFL. I'm not sold on it, man. Like he's got physical tools. He's intriguing.
Panther dog, talk Ricky into Branch.
Panther dog. Do you like Branch? Oh yeah, he's a Georgia fan. Yeah.
Go to the centers again. Can you go to the interior offensive lineman?
So the interior offensive lineman. Here's my thing on that. It's between you get Sam Hecht right there, or I would go Brian Parker, and Brian Parker is going to be listed as a tackle, but he's going to play center, I think. And man, I like Brian Parker. Now this is a Duke guy. You should like him. Okay, 6'5", 305. He's played pretty much all up and down the keys.
I get laugh out loud. That's your response. Come on, sell him to Ricky.
He's trying to get you to help him here. Or Sam Hecht. I really do enjoy Sam Hecht as well. I think that he's a legitimate NFL starting center. Slightly undersized, but you know what? Who's the guy we were talking about all episode of the $20 million man at center? Tyler Linderbaum. Slightly undersized, bro. Like he wasn't huge either, right?
Yeah. He's fucking good though. It don't
He's
matter.
great.
Yeah.
He's great. I'll let you call it, man.
Wait, are you comparing him to him? Like,
no, I'm not.
I'm for it.
No. What I'm saying is that when you look at it from a physical standpoint, right? When you just look at a composition, a body composition, it's just not all that smart, I think, in my opinion, to negate players because of their size.
Yeah.
I think you look at the game they play and what do they do well and what will a team ask them to do. And I think that a movable center that communicates well, that has experience at the position is exactly what Carolina needs. But that also, I think, goes with Brian Parker. So
we haven't looked. Well, one more thing. We're stalling here a little bit, but we did not look at running back. So I'm just curious who's out there right now.
I think that's crazy to look at a running back.
No, the chat. Someone in the chat.
Seth McGowan, Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen, Damon Claiborne is the firecracker out of Wake Forest. Mike Washington Jr. is probably in the running back 2, running back 3 range out of Arkansas. He probably had the best week of any running back at the Senior Bowl, which, you know, it's hanging your hat on a really short coat rack. Yeah, I wouldn't invest that running back there over any of the other players that we've talked about personally.
My pick's Branch, and I'm sticking to that.
All right, we're going to go to Branch then. We're going to do that. You answer for that. All right, so let's see who went right after him, just out of curiosity. Jennings Dunker, Chase Basantis, Skylar Bell, Justin Jolie, Deion Burks, Jacob Rodriguez, Zakee Wheatley.
Oh, the Duke guy. Parker went.
Sam Hecht. Yeah. Bud Clark, son of a bitch. All right. Well, there you have it.
That Georgia Tech guy's still out there for.
I sure hope that
Rutledge is out there.
I sure hope that Bryce Young starts really developing his screen game that has been non-existent for the Panthers. Now that we got a guy that only catches screens, this is going to work out well. All right, let's look at some positions here. So let's go back to the interior offensive line. Still got Keelan Rutledge.
He's out there, man.
Still got Jaeger Burton. I like him still too. Logan Jones. Talk about a Hawkeye. There's a Hawkeye, former defensive tackle. Interesting player. I like him a good bit. I do like him. You can probably get him in the 119 to 156 range even. Let's take a look at the wide receivers on the board.
Oh, boy. You're just trying to pour salt on the wounds.
No, look, I still got Brendan Thompson and Kevin Coleman Jr. I'd still take a chance on. I just think that those guys are – Brendan Thompson is a diminutive fellow. Like, he is not big, 5'9", 170. You want to talk about instant acceleration and gear shift and twitchiness. He's got it. Like, he's 100% got it. I also think that Reggie Virgil is an interesting wide receiver. I like him a decent amount. Then you got the guys that people really loved from the Senior Bowl. Where were they at? Tyron Montgomery and Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst, everyone keeps calling a George Pickens variant, is what they think of him. He made an incredible catch at the Senior Bowl. You see, interesting player. I'm not entirely sold. I think Tyron Montgomery is a dude. I think he's really interesting. Again, not all the way sold.
What do we got at edge and safety and corner?
Edge. Malachi Lawrence and Nadeem Tucker. I would be very comfortable taking one of those two at this point.
Yeah, I think
right here. Cool. I think that's good. Let's take a look at safety first. Bishop Fitzgerald still sitting there. I would take a chance on him at the next pick, possibly. Corner, Jalen Kilgore, I also very much like.
We like that pipeline.
Do like the pipeline. Do like it. Jaden Kennedy, nickel out of Oregon. He's a little bit smaller. I see. If I go nickel, I'm honestly in. Oh, here's a name. See, they got him way down low. Treydon Stukes. Like this guy a lot. I like Stukes a good bit. Good bit. Big fan of Stooks.
What pick are we at right now? What's our next one?
We are at 119. Our next one is 156, and we have back-to-back on our next picks, 156 and 157.
Okay.
But what I don't want to do is, you see how they have trading Stooks down here ranked at 289, average draft position 233. That ain't going to happen. So I don't want to just use him and pick him up at 235 because that's what the simulator says. That's just not realistic. So if we like a player, I think that we have to, and some of these other ones aren't realistic for what it's worth, but they're closer, right? Like they are closer. I think maybe you could go. I would go Stooks here if you want my honest opinion.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Over the edge guys, even Lawrence there. I mean, we gotta address edge. I don't care if we don't think it's like that has to be a player we draft in this mock. Mason Riger, we could take him later. I'm fine with that. Let's go with that safety.
Oh man, chat. What are your feelings on all this?
He would be an interesting rotational guy for this team. I'll tell you that. And if Carolina addresses edge in free agency, I mean, you're not going to ask this guy to rush the 100% of the damn game. You bring him in on a rotational basis. I like it, but I also like Rutledge, but I don't know if you're as high on him. But
I do. I like Rutledge. I like Pat Coogan. There are multiple centers that I do like. Logan Jones, I'm big on as well. Now look, we got the back-to-back picks next time.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at this and you look at this interior offensive lineman, Coogan likely gone. Logan Jones maybe still there. Parker Brailsford coming off his situation. He had the ACL. He's a good undersized kid, but he's good player. I mean, Rutledge, if you can get him to play center, right?
Yeah.
If that's what you think you do, is you get him to play center. But yeah, I mean, I think you go Malachi Lawrence or Nadeem Tucker.
With this pick?
Yeah.
I'll let you pick it.
Oh, God, I hate that for me. Well, so the very first mock draft that I did for Pro Football Network this year, I had them take Malachi Lawrence. I think that he's going to fit a lot of their criteria. I think that he's got the size, he's got the production, he's got the profile, he's got the steadiness. Slightly older, 6'4", 250, but he's a pass rusher, man. Through and through, he is a pass rusher. Nadeem Tucker, though, is explosive as well. I just worry a little bit about size and build for them with him. With the 1 year of production, his pass rush win rate, though, 28.4 is redonkulous. I mean, this dude could really get after it. He looked good at the Senior Bowl. I know that they value the Senior Bowl as well. Chat.
Make the pick, Ricky. Chad ain't in this one. You're making it. Let's do it.
All right. Let's go Malachi Lawrence. All right. Now, here at this pick, so you still got Kyle Lewis there if you wanted to double tap at the linebacker and bring in that. I want to see. I'm going Logan Jones here personally.
Coogan's still out there too.
I like Jones a little bit better than Coogan. I think that Jones is a really interesting athlete.
What about safeties too? We look at that at this point.
Yeah. Jalen Husky, Terp. I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here. Fun ball player. I like him a good bit. Cole Wisniewski, I know everyone really was high on him for his time. What was it? He was in the Shrine, right? Everyone really liked Cole Wisniewski. He's just like a really thin linebacker that can't really play linebacker, though. I'm not sure. Bishop Fitzgerald, I think, has the – you talk about a ball hawk again. Really good ball production, 5 interceptions this past year. This is a really solid football player that I think gets overlooked sometimes. Kamari Ramsey really got the flashy recognition for SC. Fitzgerald, I believe, was a transfer out of NC State. I do like Kimmel a good bit. I think that he's a fun player. But again, if we're going to look at the guy to come and play that safety nickel hybrid, I'm still on Traden Stukes right here. And I think that if you can get Logan Jones and Traden Stukes with these back-to-back picks, I'm not mad at that. And then taking a guy like Jalen Husky at 199.
No, we're gonna be taking my guy out of Wisconsin.
Who? Can't you get him at 235?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get him late. Yeah.
But what about that linebacker? I mean,
who? Kyle Lewis?
Kyle Lewis is out there. He's intrigued.
Where are you going to play Kyle Lewis, man? We're going to play at Kyle Lewis at like big nickel. Why not just play Stukes, man? Stukes gives you so much more than I think Kyle Lewis gives you. I'm just not as sold. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a hater, but I'm not super duper sold on it, man. I know that sounds crazy, but like I don't know, man. People fell in love with him at the Senior Bowl, and he is really interesting. 6'1", 220. You just see, I mean, look at his usage. He's in the slot 244, box 319. I mean, they didn't want him getting caught up in the mix. They try to keep him out of congestion, and I just not sure that's what I want with him. I think that if I was grabbing a guy that I'm going to try to put into that big nickel position,
let's go with Stukes. We'll go with Stukes.
Give me Stukes. Come on, just roll with me.
Send it in.
Roll with me.
Send it in. Can we go? Have we go back
center,
to
right? Or you want to look at the running back or something like that?
No, go to interior defense alignment again. I don't think we've looked at that in a bit.
It's going to be the same guys pretty much. Yeah. Rayshon Benny's my guy there, but you got Landon Robinson. That's the defensive lineman out of Navy that we were talking about. Zane Durant, nice showing. Caleb Proctor was the undersized guy that really showed up at the Shrine. DeMonte Capart's a nose tackle out of Clemson.
Well, let's look at who we drafted. I need to see that.
So you got tackle Spencer Fano, Jake Galday, Zachariah Branch, Malachi Lawrence, Traden Stukes. So I still think you need to go center here.
Center. And what about, I mean, Coogan is still there, dude. I know you like Jones, though, but
it's a matter of which one you like more, Pat Coogan.
I can't lie. Iowa knows how to produce linemen. So
They do.
Between tight ends and linemen.
Let's look at the tight end position real quick, just for shits and gigs, since you said it. Tanner Koziel, Oscar Delp.
I'm done with the let's try a tight end in the draft. Carolina can't figure that one out. So
see, I think they got to draft a tight end, but I'll digress.
I think they need to go free agent if they want one.
All right, I think let's go. I think you go center. Do you like Coogan? Panther Bo likes Coogan.
I like Coogan.
You like Coogan. Everyone likes Coogan. Let's go Coogan. Let's give you guys what you want. But just remember, this was a chance to give Carter his Hawkeye, and you guys talked me out of it.
Yeah, we're done with that one.
Okay. All right, so there you go. You got Coogan in there. So your picks here, we've got our tackle, Jake Galladay, Zachariah Branch, Malachi Lawrence, Traden Stukes, and Pat Coogan. What position you guys want to see right now? You got Jalen Husky. Kendall Daniels is a huge dude. He's really interesting. I wonder what's going to – someone like Mike McDonald is going to get their hands on Kendall Daniels and turn him into just like this weapon.
Go to linebacker. Go to linebacker again.
Go to linebacker. I would take
yeah, he's
Betcher
intriguing.
Here. Yep, I would take Betcher here. I'd have no problem double dipping on Betcher there. Or Jaden Duggar was also a guy that they seem to like at the Shrine as well. I would take Betcher here 100%. He's also got a lot of special teams under his belt.
Yeah, he intrigues me.
Yep. Let's go with him.
I like it.
Let's go with it. Okay.
Now, do we Let's look at QBs. We forgot to even look at that this
Well,
whole time.
I would look at him right around here. Cole Payton, talk about developmental tools, big
That was
arm.
the lefty out of North.
Yep.
He was at the Senior Bowl.
Yep. Big arm. He's still kind of learning the position. They did a lot of running, not a lot of throwing. But man, you talk about the tools. He's got a lot. He's got the tools there. Luke Altmaier, this is the guy that I thought had a
I
really nice
liked it.
showing.
If I had a preference out of at least this initial list, I don't know who's beyond them. It would be the guy out of Illinois, but
Altmaier, yeah. And then Mark Gronowski, this is the guy that I was talking about that I do like, man. I think that he looks like an NFL quarterback as well. Whether that's a backup for his entire career is probable, but yeah. So Luke Altmaier, Cole Payton, I think that you take one of these guys and just call it a day.
go to Altmaier again. Pull that up here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean he's solid, decent size, 6'2",
God, I haven't even
215.
had us on camera for about an hour. What the hell was I doing?
Nobody cares. Look at Panther Dog is mad that we didn't take Oscar Delp. Hey, look, I like Oscar Delp too, man. To be completely honest, I do like him.
He's hating our 19th pick.
Oh, that's okay. I don't think you have to go quarterback there either.
No,
this is Raw Walk was talking about Eli Heidenreich. He said this is the wide receiver running back out of Navy that he likes a whole lot.
What about edge? We got my guy Reiger.
Well, usually in these last picks too, Eric O'Neill.
That is the pick.
I'll give you your Wisconsin guy. Just take him. Get me out of this hell.
What'd they give us? What shit grade did they give us this time?
Oh, let's see. Hold on. I'm sure it's awful. B-. Not terrible. They hated the trade in Stooks. That's what really threw us off was the trade in Stooks. But I'm okay with that.
Ricky.
Yeah, thanks, Ricky. Yeah, they love Zachariah Branch.
Branch, man.
Hey, let's do this.
That brought our average up.
I want to see what happens with Zachariah Branch and Traden Stooks' NFL career. Let's just watch that now.
That's hilarious.
All right. Well, so there you go. That's how we would do it. I will save this.
Yes, send me the attachment on that. But no, we still got a couple of things to talk about. So this, I think, someone said this is a
really, really. There's more to do here. Unbelievable.
We got to touch on this. Frank Reich back in the NFL. Named the Jets offensive coordinator. Panther Bowl, man. You all crack me up. Ricky, good or bad for the Jets?
Hold on, Dalton. Are you crying because you're happy or are you crying because it's bad? Frank Reich, good or bad for the Jets? Look, I have maintained, I think that Frank Reich is like one of the better dudes that, by all accounts, like just as a person, seems incredible, right? Like he seems like such a good, genuine dude. I just have not seen success at the NFL level for him in, I don't know, man, 8 years? When's the last time? Like his first season in Indy, I guess it was relatively solid, but then after that, the wheels fell off. He came here, fell off. He went to Stanford, tried to help. And yeah, Frank was dealt a shit hand here. Sure, I guess. He didn't do much to turn that shit into anything other than just a pile of shit in his hands either, though. And like if you're holding a turd, you got to figure out something to do so that turd just doesn't get on the other hand, right? And instead he was clapping it like he was just making a shit sandwich. And I don't think that's the right way to go about it. Good for them because it's stability, I guess. We'll see. They talked about possibly even bringing Greg Roman in some capacity on our offensive staff. I think that having Frank Reich and Greg Roman in there would be really interesting.
What is this, 2005?
Yeah. I think that Aaron Glenn was looking for comfortable faces. I think that he was looking for people he's comfortable with, that know how he wants to operate. Yeah. And I think that makes perfect sense for him. I don't think it's terrific for the Jets' offensive outlook.
No, this is real quick. I think this is going to end Aaron Glenn's time pretty quickly in New York, I think. Um,
He
let's
was
move
doing a
on.
relatively decent job of that himself, to be fair.
Yeah, let's move on here. This transitions over to the Super Bowl. Milton Williams admitted he was, Radio Row, whatever, Media Week for Super Bowl. Admitted for a moment he thought he'd be a Carolina Panther. Said I wish I could spell, he even was looking up little league pictures, and apparently he was on a team that was called the Panthers when he was a young fellow playing football. Ricky, thoughts on this? I know we've talked about this many times, but man, would have been interesting if they would have had this guy on their roster.
It's exactly the kind of piece that we needed still, to be honest. And we talked about this when we signed Turk and we went through that episode, and we tried our best to be optimistic and hopeful about Turk. And I still will be. Like, he's still a Panther, so I'm still hoping for the best from it. But it felt very much like a consolation prize. It's like one of those. So there's two claw machines in the restaurant, right? The one on the left has this really well working claw, and it picks up small things, and it's an easy win. Like, you're going to win. It's it's a hit. That was Milton Williams. You knew what he was going to do. He's done it at the highest level. He's done it in college. Like, you knew that was going to happen at a high volume usage. You knew what kind of player he was. Turk is the one where it's like, hey, it's a crapshoot. But if that faulty claw machine that doesn't really close all the way, but if it gets like underneath the hole of that giant teddy bear, it might lift that big son of a bitch up. You might win the biggest prize of it all. We didn't do that, though. Instead, we wasted like $17 at the pizza parlor trying to pick up that giant teddy bear, and we just kept on seeing this claw machine do what we kind of figured the claw machine would do and not pick shit up. So that's where I'm at with it. Milton Williams would have been the really awesome take home 6 small stuffies for your kid kind of claw machine. And instead, we ended up with the I just lost $17. Now my wife is yelling at me while I'm trying to drink a PBR and eat this cheese pizza. That's weird, huh?
Damn.
It's real life, man. I go to the claw machine at Hawthorne's all the time.
You are
man.
a wizard. You are a wizard with those analogies. Yeah, this sucks, man. Like, I might have been. I was more pissed off for that moment than I have been in a long ass time as a Panthers fan. Like, that enraged the shit out of me because I knew how big of a signing that would have been for Carolina, and it just sucks. Let's move on quickly here. We got to touch on it. Super Bowl prediction, Ricky, this weekend. We got the Seahawks, Patriots going at it. This is a rematch of Super Bowl 49. The Seattle at the 1 yard line decides to throw. Don't hand it off to Marshawn Lynch. We all know what happens after that. Who do you got in this game? Give us a score.
I'm such a big Mike McDonald fan. You and I were talking about this before we started the show, and I try to refrain from talking about Mike McDonald a whole lot because I wanted him so badly as the Carolina Panthers head coach. And it just makes me sound like a hater of Dave Canales when I talk about how much I do appreciate Mike McDonald. I think that Mike McDonald is going to put on a masterclass on the defensive side here. They have done nothing but rush like their 4, right? And staying nickel and dime, staying in these sub packages and getting pressure. A lot of simulated pressures, but they don't actually send it. I would not be surprised to see Mike McDonald go full nut in this game and start sending 6, you know what I mean, 5-man pressures. Still stay with what he does, but you're going to see some exotic shit from Mike McDonald in this one. I do think that Drake May is a very quality quarterback. I am worried about them matching up with the terrific defensive players on that Seattle Seahawks team. And then I think that the Patriots run defense against Kenneth Walker and this run attack for the Seattle Seahawks, that's a really intriguing matchup. But Jackson Smith and Jigba against Christian Gonzalez is a little bit less intriguing to me. I think the JSN is just the truth. I think Sam Darnold, look, I'm not rooting for Sam Darnold. I'm not rooting against Sam Darnold either. But I think that the narrative of him crapping his pants in big moments, I think that that's kind of proven itself to be a little silly. I hope that this is a really good game. I hope it's not a blowout. I think it has more of a potential to be a blowout for Seattle than anything else. But I am going to take Seattle, and I'm going to go 28-17 Seattle.
So, win by 11?
Yeah. I really just think that Seattle's a really good football team, man, and I think they're playing great ball.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree because I was trying to weigh. I was looking at scores and trying to. I don't want to shortchange New England either, because I do think their defense is playing really well. They forced 8 turnovers in 3 games in the playoffs,
and I think they earned their trip here, right? Like there was a lot of talk
but
about
Drake
them.
May has struggled. I mean, there's no doubt
Yeah,
about that.
right,
Like
right.
he's struggled in the playoffs,
And their offensive line has struggled, and they're meeting a buzzsaw, dude.
And Sam Darnold he's heightened his game. I mean, the NFC Championship game, he played outstanding. So I agree with you. I think Seattle's is gonna be too much for New England. I really like Mike Vrabel. I think he's a great coach. Improve that, back to back 4-13 seasons for them, and then hit him to turn them around and be in the Super Bowl this year is outstanding. But I do think Seattle, their defense is, I mean, we saw it in Carolina. It's ridiculous. And their offense is playing well enough to get the job done, and at times playing outstanding football too. Would you say 28-17? I'll go 31-24.
Ooh.
Seattle wins.
You think that New England puts up 24 on them, huh?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Panther Dog was right there with you. He just got it opposite 31-24. That's the same thing you said, right?
31-20. Yeah, that's what I said.
There you guys go. And you both like Zachariah Branch. Look at you guys together tonight. Good for y'all.
So it should be a good game. I'm excited for it. It should be a defensive battle, like we have talked about. Real quickly, I didn't have this in here, but I want to ask you, Hall of Fame coming up. It seems like all signs are pointing to Luke Kuechly getting in this year. I mean, Greg Olson's making the trip down to the awards ceremony. Actually, that's tomorrow night. NFL honors. Real quick thoughts on Luke Kuechly. Do you think this is the year? And I mean, I think I know where your head's at here, but how do I phrase this the right way to not give you just a softball question? Do you think he deserves the honor this year? I mean, yes. I guess that is yeah.
And I know what you mean, though. Like, you don't be like a homer about it and say like, "Oh, you love Luke Kuechly." So, like, do you think he deserves to be in? I think that he had every argument to be in as a first-time Hall of Fame ballot guy. Outside of longevity is the only thing that you could put up against Luke. As far as being one of the best players of all time at his position and having the hardware to back it up outside of a Lombardi, right? Yeah, Luke Kuechly is deserving. I think that he has an advantage that he doesn't have a girlfriend who's 25 years, 30 years younger than him, too. That seems to be something that keeps you out of the Hall of Fame, right? So
let me get me started on that.
That's I know. Luke Kuechly, I think, deserves it. He deserves it. I hope he gets it. And as Panther Dog said, T-Mac getting that Offensive Rookie of the Year as well.
Yeah.
Looking for a big weekend for the Panthers.
McMillan deserves it. Kuechly, I'm really praying he gets in on the second opportunity. Looks like he might. And as much as I dislike the Patriots, Bill Belichick did get snubbed. There's no doubt about it. That guy, without question, should be a first ballot Hall of Fame.
He definitely got snubbed, and I definitely don't give a shit, though. I'm just going to say that. Like, I 100% can say that he got snubbed, and, like, it ruins the validity of that entire process, right, if you're not going to let him get in. But also, I don't give a shit, so I'm okay with it.
That's a good way to put it. So I'll leave it there. But, hey, we appreciate y'all. Almost 600 tuning in.
Hell yeah.
And we haven't been on in several weeks. Maybe
that was a fun episode, man. Getting to talk about all this stuff and just kind of do a lot of, like,
people ripping our mock draft.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll rip it a little bit more tomorrow once we post it. But, hey, we appreciate y'all. Hopefully we'll be back soon. I don't want to guarantee anything, but I would like to be back soon. As we get closer, I know we're still trying to sort some things out with everything else, and Ricky will have his draft guide at some point closer to April.
Fingers crossed.
The guy's got to do his studying before he puts out the final paper. So give him some time. That's the best analogy you're getting out of me the rest of the year. So I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night. It's good to see you guys again, and as always, keep pounding.